Day. And a great start to Eric. Let's have another look at that one. Wenban bowling with a very soft cased ball, as opposed to Barry Sewell a few weeks ago bowling with a hard cased ball. You'll notice that Terry's ball really turns a lot as it goes down towards the pins. He's a little bit out of timing that time, and we didn't get a chance to see it properly, but I can assure you that he throws one of the biggest hook balls in the game. Thompson now with an opportunity to take a handy lead. He's opened up with a strike. Frame 2 for Thompson. And Eric seemed to rush that one a little bit. Probably should have taken a bit more time. Ball went right onto the head pin, and he's left the impossible 4-6. So Wenban, even though he threw a bad first ball, will probably be able to convert this. Wears a glove, Terry, to give him better leverage. And covered that perfectly. We'll have another look at his spare. Thompson now should play it safe and go for just the one pin. At this stage of the match, particularly after a strike, you should always try and get as many pins as possible after a strike, because that counts 10 plus the next 2 balls. If Eric had missed that, it would have cost him 2 pins overall. Eric's score in the second frame is 28. Terry is 20 in the first with a spare. And as I said a minute ago, Terry wears a glove, and that aids the leverage that he gets on the ball as he lifts it out onto the lane. And that was a great shot. Let's have another look at that. Terry's ball going into the pocket and carrying the 5 pin as the last pin. Perfect strike angle. Thompson now up against it already. 12 pins the difference. 40 to Wenban, 28 to this man Thompson. Eric's come back with a very deep pocket hit. No chance of leaving any pins up on that shot. Wenban has won the following tournaments, and very well too. The 1974 Melbourne Cup, the 1979 Australian Hawaiian Invitational, the 1980 Queensland Open and Perth Cup, and last year's South Pacific Classic, this year's Newcastle Cup. So a very experienced tournament winner. And Terry's not too pleased with the result there. That looked like it could have been a strike, but the 6 pin wrapped around the 10, and he hasn't got a double yet. Thompson's taking a bit more time in this match than we saw in his last 2 encounters against Barry Sewell and Steve Lovell. He knows he's got a man who's in form. But, Eric didn't get down and lift the ball through properly. Let it go a little bit too soon. It's marvellous in practice that both bowlers look so good, and then when the TV actually starts taping, it doesn't quite happen for them. Wenban now 60 in the 3rd frame, and Thompson looking down the barrel at this stage. He must go for this one. And he did, but just failed to hit the right-hand side of the 5 pin. That would have sent it into the 7, and he had to go for that. He's in trouble. 54 in the 4th frame. Wenban 60 in the 3rd. So if Terry gets a strike on this ball following his spare, well, there's a 26-pin lead, and pretty hard to peg that back in these one-game sudden death matches. Low push away. Right out in the lane, but came up too late for him, and he's left the 6 and the 10. So Thompson lives again. Eric, an excellent push away, and that's a big feature of his game. It's got him to many, many titles. In fact, Eric, a big time for him then, but right now he's got problems enough against Eric Thompson. Missed the head pin that time after 2 strikes on that lane, and he is now 95 in the 5th frame. Thompson looking better. Perfect pocket hit. Eric up against it. 21 pins the difference. He's struck in the 6th. He's got to start a string of strikes. Wenban, meanwhile, has to cover this nasty spare. The 1, 2, and the 8 are the 3 pins he's left standing. And that's a horrible shot. Terry completely out of timing. Lost his concentration for a moment there and has missed those 3 pins completely. A most unusual occurrence for a man of his ability. Terry averages well over 200 in a couple of Sydney leagues, and he'll be most disappointed with that effort. Thompson needs that good push away. That's solid. See what the result looks like. No, it wouldn't carry for him. He's left the 6 pin. Because Terry opened disastrously there, Eric's picked up quite a lot of leeway. He'll only be about 8 pins behind if he gets this spare. Wenban must come back with a strike after that disastrous shot. Not to be this time. Only 7. The bowlers seem to be worrying a bit too much. We've seen what's happened in the last few weeks, and everyone's been bowling quite well in practice, but not so well when the cameras start rolling. But we can't make excuses for them. They know it's a 1-game match. They know that any mistake can be fatal, and Wenban covered the spare perfectly on the left-hand side of the 1 pin, which meant that the 2 pin carried the 4. No chance of missing that spare. The difference now, 8 pins, both men with spares in the 7th frame, and we're going into the 8th frame now. The winner of this match meets Brian Bridges next week, and it's anyone's game at this stage. Thompson really needed that strike. Said the right prayers that time, but no need to. It was always going to be a strike. It was a great delivery. Wenban must counter now. 8 pins the difference. Wenban does. Good pressure shot. He's the aggressor in that frame, but Thompson started the ball rolling. Still 8 pins the difference. Both men with strikes in the 8th frame, and we're coming up to the 9th frame. A very important shot for Eric Thompson. 8 pins behind. He must strike to keep the pressure on Terry Wenban. Composing himself. Looks all right. Yes, it's carried the 10 pin. Let's have another look at that one. That's the sort of stuff that champions are made of. And Eric Thompson, 41 years old and looking very, very good at the moment. Wenban's got a strike now to stay that 8 pins ahead. Doesn't look too good from here. No, Terry's left the baby split. We call it the baby split because there's only a small gap between the 3 and the 10 pin. And what Terry has to do now, of course, is put the ball between the 3 and the 10 pin, and it will take both pins out. See how he attacks this one. Perfect shot. Let's have another look at the spare. And I tell you what, under pressure, that is not a very easy thing to convert. But Thompson now with the upper hand. He's got 2 strikes. The difference was 8 pins. Eric could take the lead, and he needs this first strike in the 10th to do that. He'll be 2 pins up if this one's a strike. He's really taking a deep breath. Yes, and it has. Eric said do something, and the ball reacted, seemingly. A good ball under the whip. 2 pins the difference now. Thompson ahead. Wenban must strike, and it is. Well, Wenban's not out of it yet. Thompson has to strike again to shut the gate. But Wenban not dead yet. These top-line bowlers never give up till the last ball is bowled. And Thompson now needs a strike to close out the match and go on to meet Brian Bridges next week. Let's have a look at it. Needs a strike. Yes, a beautiful strike by Eric Thompson. He almost went through the side wall then. Oh, let's have a look at that one. Even though it's a losing strike, that is a ball and a half. That one just tore the pins to shreds. But a little bit too late for Terry Wenban, who was leading all the way through until Eric started his string of strikes. 4 strikes in a row. He's going for his 5th. Not quite, but good enough for a win. 203 on top of his 205 of last week. So Thompson is hitting his straps in this televised tournament and doing it nicely. Wenban's last shot, another strike. 3 strikes in a row in the 10th frame for Terry Wenban, but it's a losing game. He gets beaten 203 to 192. That was a very good match. Thompson coming good in the last couple of frames to snatch victory.